But I personally called Jacobs and I got involved. And people did not like it, and I really don't care what people like or don't like. When something annoys me, I am gonna move heaven and hell to get it fixed. And I went ahead and I called Orlando, and I found the motor, and I got a price on the motor. And I passed it all along to this home board, and I also passed it along to Jacobs. And I told him what he needs to do is get his feet out of the sheets and get this thing fixed. He didn't like it too much, but I don't care.
How much was
Well, we
that?
gotta have a single point of contact.
Well,
There has to
you
be
need
one
a single
person.
point of contact, but you know something?
My turn to talk?
Go ahead, you got it, but I'm next.
But it's great, but you have to have one point of contact with the vendor. And if it isn't this board, then it's gonna be every homeowner. Who are they gonna believe? Who's gonna pay?
Okay.
And who has the authority
Right,
for
who has
doing
the
it?
authority?
Let me answer the question to that. The board had this problem for 6 months,
No, it wasn't.
180 days. I wrote it down on my calendar the day that this motor dropped dead. 186 days to be exact, before it finally got fixed. And I called Jacobs and I got on his tail. He says, oh yes, I got that motor submerged in a 5-gallon bucket with oil. And I says, and what you need to do is throw it away, because it's gonna cost more to put 3 new seals on it than to go down to Orlando and buy a new one. And that he believed me, and that's how we got the damn thing fixed. And now I'll be quiet.
Did he quote your price on the,
I got a price for the motor. The motor alone was $12.75. And I passed that information along to the board in writing. Dee has still got the paperwork up at her house at that
that would
meeting.
have been.
I have it in a different,
You know, when you asked me if the
Right,
paperwork
I have the
Dee
stuff.
had a copy of all that paperwork that I finally went ahead and
I
threw
didn't
away.
bring my
once it got-
folder with,
Well,
where I
that's
have
all right.
all that in.
But that's what the motor was gonna cost. So what I'd like to know from the secretary, no, from the treasurer is, how many hours did he bill us for? Well, it should be on the bill. It should be on the bill. He put in 2.5 hours because
I'll have to, you want to go home and get the bills?
I think we should.
Okay.
I think we should. Because why are we talking about a $3,500 bill if we're talking about $1,250 for a motor?
Is there anything
And
we can
2.5
do to undo it at this point?
No, you're gonna have to
Then why
pay it.
disrupt the meeting?
All right, let's wait a second then. Who else gave us an estimate to have this work done?
Todd?
The guy came from Orlando to do it. And
The
he
gentleman that sprays here every month told me while I was talking to him while he's spraying my backyard that they were very much interested in doing this job.
I spoke to him as well.
And what
He said he had a fountain on the shelf for $1,000. It didn't have lights and it was a 1/2 horsepower fountain.
All right, the one that's there is a two and a quarter, I believe.
2.5, I think.
2.5. You know?
What's he did, it's not apples to apples.
No. The one that I found that was down in Orlando that Jacobs went down and purchased was the 2 1/4 horse.
Now, which pump are you
Because
talking
I
about?
copied the
Remember, we
numbers
did
right out of
two.
the electrical box, that anybody else could do the same thing and go ahead and make telephone calls and find a motor.
So,
This motor was not
Well, this is
something
Todd.
that was, you can't find it. I mean, they're still out there. You can still go ahead and call somebody and get a price on that motor today, and then look at the bill that he gave us for manpower hours. As a matter of fact, Helen met me when he was finished doing his work, which was about 2:30 that day. And they didn't show up until about 11:45. So from 11:45 to 12:45 to 1:45 to 2:45 is 3 hours. And if I'm not mistaken, I discussed with Jason here, if he had given, if I have this right, hang me on board, what his hourly rate was going to be for his top man and a helper.
that's all broke down.
Okay,
I just
so
don't have
if,
that
so,
in front of me.
so we have it all broke down. So it's not too hard to figure out if one man gets $300 an hour
It
and
was
the other
broke
guy,
down all the way. And
well
the
then
board
if it's
went over this.
$3,500, somebody got kissed here. And we took a beating on this, if it was $3,500. If it was $1,275 for the motor and $1,000 to put it in, where's the difference in the money?
He worked 4 or 5 hours on it the first time. taking
Yeah,
it
that's
out.
what I was just gonna ask.
He
This
took
wasn't
all the
just one
stuff
time.
apart. He never billed us for that.
You had to pull it out of the water, disassemble
Okay,
So he
now,
works on it.
now, Todd, thank you, because I sat there from my house with a pair of binoculars and I watched it through, and you want to know something that was really funny, because once he had the motor all hooked up and running, he turned on the electricity and he's drowning his guys while they were sitting in a canoe. Everybody got soaking wet, and I'm like, wow, this is pretty cute, you know? Everybody was soaking wet, and everybody was
This
annoyed.
is, I mean, there was.
So now we got charged for a couple of hours. How many hours did it take to pull it out of the water?
I don't know, but not.
Yeah,
It's
Jennifer
all
probably
written
got
down.
it
Now?
in 2.5 hours. I'd say probably 3 hours.
But is
Okay,
it,
3 hours
trying
to
to
get
get
it
it
out,
to work.
3 hours to get it back. That's 6 hours. 6 times 3 is 18. 18
That's right.
and 15
You have a journeyman,
is 33.
I'm gonna call it a journeyman,
Yeah.
because there was a head guy and then
Right.
2 lower guys. Then there was equipment rental
Yeah.
for doing some of this, because some of his, to
But
get
that was
in where
there was
he's.
only rental equipment on this end.
No,
There
he
was
used
no
it both.
rental
He-
equipment
he
for
used-
that
When
end.
he took it out, he had to pay a guy to use his boat to pull it out. Then he used a canoe putting it back in, so we didn't have to pay for the boat to put it back out.
can I, is it fair to say that each pump was worked on more than once?
Yeah.
Okay, so these total bills were
Accumulation.
Yeah. So it wasn't like we just, oh, here's $3,500 and put a new, guts in our
Because
pump.
what it was, is, I
Okay.
mean, this at first, you replaced what needed to be replaced.
Yeah.
I can
And
buy
then
that.
And then it
No.
broke, so then we had to get something else. I mean,
Okay.
it was not
No.
a simple thing.
I'm just trying to figure out the $3,500. Now, it's starting to clear up and it's starting to make sense. If the guy had to work on it 2 and 3 and 4 times, well then, that's where the money went.
Well, there, I mean, it was more
They
than.
originally
just
tried to rebuild the motor,
I know.
but that became cost prohibitive, so that's why that
Right,
was
that's when it
stopped.
sat in that pail for 3 months in oil. And I told him what he needed to do was put it in the back of his Mercedes-Benz and drive it on down to Orlando and get it fixed for us.
Okay, well, we have discussed this at great length. We haven't been at the other board meetings, so.
No, but I think I was, if I'm not mistaken. Yes.
At one of,
Yeah,
at one
because
of,
I
we've had more than one
that
board
one there, I
meeting.
requested to put my own pump in, we got shut down, but that's okay.
Right,
That was at that meeting.
Because-
That was the last board meeting, and I've been at everything since then.
yeah.
I am today.
But we had had meetings before then that you hadn't taken part.
Okay.
Is there anything else on lakes and wetlands? Okay. Welcoming committee, I did for Mary. We had 4 new residents that have moved in, and I was able to meet, one is Jan Latford. What do you want to know? She moved in, she really liked the 33 China Moon, and she's by herself. And then on 40 China Moon, the house is sold to Tammy, I'm not sure how you say it, S-A-L-A-M-E. Salim, I don't know.
Mhm.
And that is rented to Scott Holcomb and Heather Stockhammer, and they've been together 12 years, and they have twins, 1 boy, 1 girl, about 6 years old. And they're on a year lease. Jim Cornwall has moved into 24 Coquina Point. That used to be Stone's house. He's a single guy that actually he's moving from someplace out of Holly Hill to here. And he's doing a slow move in. It'll probably be a month before he's totally in there. And he's semi-retired. And then Kevin Hoey on 17 Point, or Sandpoint, he's also retired. And was getting moved in. The day I was going around giving out the covenants and bylaws and the directory, I happened to be at his house, and I gave the information to his real estate person because they were closing in 1 hour. And since then, I have been down and met with Kevin, Mr. Hoey.
I have a question. Of all these newcomers, do they each have a copy of the covenants and restrictions?
Yes, that's
And
what,
everything?
yeah. I mailed to Tammy the covenants and restrictions to her since she's the owner of the house. I left a directory with Scott Holcomb. And he doesn't want to ruin a good relationship, so they're just living together and have been for 12 years. What else do you want to know? Okay.
On this next section,